When Elizabeth Short showed up in Los Angeles during the 1940s, the small-town girl had big dreams of becoming a movie star. However, she would only achieve fame in death. The 22-year-old's naked corpse was found in a vacant lot on January 15, 1947. Short was scrubbed, cut in half and drained of blood. The New England hopeful was viciously mutilated and a joker's smile was carved on her face. Short would be nicknamed the Black Dahlia by the press after a 1946 film noir, and her killing would spark a manhunt that continues to frighten people decades later. Now, a British lawyer believes she may have solved the mystery of Hollywood's most infamous murder. Piu Eatwell attempted to shed new light on Short's brutal demise in the book, Black Dahlia, Red Rose. Eatwell investigated legal documents from the case, letters, grand jury testimony, and even tracked down some of the last living people with direct knowledge of the events at the time, and came up with her theory. Elizabeth Short, the black-haired Hollywood hopeful from Massachusetts whose murder became one of the most notorious unsolved cases in American history. USC Los Angeles Examiner Archive, courtesy of University of Southern California, on behalf of the USC Library's Special Collections. An ex-boyfriend who was a former mortician's assistant did it. The son of a now-deceased Los Angeles policeman who was involved in the investigation also believes Eatwell's theory. Eatwell told Fox News she was determined to find out how a young girl from Medford, Massachusetts got caught up in the dark side of Hollywood. She was dependent on friends, boyfriends, people she got picked up by for a meal, just a place from the night. Author Piu Eatwell. Elizabeth Short was one of 5 daughters who was brought up effectively by a single parent because her father ran away when she was very young, explained Eatwell. She turned up in Hollywood, like so many young girls, dreaming to be a movie star and hoping to be discovered. Unfortunately, she's famous now for nothing that she did in her life. Eatwell claimed that like many girls seeking the big break, Short was lured by a wealthy businessman who promised a bright future ahead. Mark Hansen, the elusive Hollywood nightclub and movie theater owner and prime suspect for the murder of Elizabeth Short. Los Angeles Times Photographic Archives Collection 1429. UCLA Library Special Collections, Charles E. Young Research Library, UCLA. Mark Hansen was a kind of a shady Hollywood mogul type, said Eatwell. He owned a number of movie theaters in Hollywood and he was a multimillionaire. He also had a number of rooming houses and his own apartment just off Hollywood Boulevard. He was separated from his wife, who had a house on the Hollywood Hills with the 2 daughters. He had a great lifestyle in his apartment where he would invite girls if he liked the looks. He would invite them to stay with, obviously a promise that they were going to make it big as movie stars. Sooner or later, they would probably be booted out or end up as dancers in one of his nightclubs. Eatwell claimed Short was one of many girls who resided in his apartment. However, Hansen allegedly became possessive by his latest discovery. He is known to be very jealous of her boyfriends, said Eatwell. In fact, if her boyfriends came to see her, they would drop her off a block away and they would leave. He didn't like to see her with other men. She was also asking him for money. My theory is that he became tired of her and basically told his entourage, look, somebody get rid of this girl. Eatwell claimed that legal documents revealed one of Short's female confidants confirmed Hansen became enraged by Short's behavior. Ann Toth, Hollywood bit part player and close friend of Elizabeth, besieged by photographers. Los Angeles Times Photographic Archives Collection 1429. UCLA Library Special Collections, Charles E. Young Research Library, UCLA. These girls thought Hansen had connections, so obviously, they felt under pressure because they thought this was the chance to make it, said Eatwell. Elizabeth had a hand-to-mouth existence. She never really had a definite job. She was dependent on friends, boyfriends, people she got picked up by for a meal or just a place for the night. And Short's final days were anything but glamorous. The Los Angeles Times previously reported Short's teeth were so badly decayed, they were plugged with wax. Hansen later said in 1971, she just asked for trouble. She probably went too far this time, and just set some guy off into a blind, berserk rage. There was definitely a cover-up. Even as I was going through the documents, pages were just missing and removed. Author Piu Eatwell claimed Leslie Dillon, who worked for Hansen and had allegedly served as a mortician's assistant, was Short's murderer, a theory that was initially explored by Chief Police Psychiatrist Drive J. Paul DeRiver. "I'm 99% confident on the basis of the evidence I see," said Eatwell. "There was definitely a cover-up. Even as I was going through the documents, pages were just missing and removed. And they're almost always connected somehow to Leslie Dillon or Mark Hansen. There are very serious questions about Leslie Dillon that can't be answered." Her shoes and purse were found dumped in the trash can shortly after the murder by a local cafe owner. And that's actually 2 blocks from where Leslie Dillon lived. The park where she was found is one he knew very well and in fact, used as a shortcut to get to where he lived. Leslie Dillon ascends an ominously warded bus on his release, threatening to sue the city authorities for false imprisonment in at least 6 figures. USC Los Angeles Examiner Archive, courtesy of University of Southern California, on behalf of the USC Library's special collections. She went on to insist Dillon, an aspiring writer, allegedly preserved newspaper clippings about violence against women. Short's friend and often model Ardis Green reportedly identified Dillon as one of her boyfriends. Eatwell added, "If you look at the examples of Dillon's so-called creative writing, his insecurities reflected in those. Everything fits together into this picture of someone who has a huge inferiority complex, a physical hatred of women. Everything fits together into this picture of someone who has a huge inferiority complex, a physical hatred of women." Author Piu Eatwell on suspect Leslie Dillon. Mark Hansen was very discreet about his private life. Hansen was also known to have connections with one of the lead homicide officers on the Dahlia case. And if you go through the grand jury case, it's obvious the grand jury is very suspicious and they're not happy with the evidence Hansen gives at all. Newspaper clippings obtained by the FBI revealed Dillon was held as suspect number 1 after he contacted DeRiver, offering to help with a book on sadism due to his interest in psychopathic cases, such as the unsolved Black Dahlia murder. Police said at the time the then 27-year-old knows minute details of the slaying of Elizabeth Short, but denies killing or even knowing her. In another clipping, police said Leslie Dillon was familiar with details of the unsolved slaying that never were made public. Det. Sergeant Bill Cummings inspects the contents of Elizabeth's suitcase and hatbox, checked into the Greyhound bus station when she was with Robert Red Manley. Los Angeles Times Photographic Archives Collection 1429. UCLA Library Special Collections, Charles E. Young Research Library, UCLA. The Los Angeles Times reported in 1949, Dillon was released by police due to lack of evidence. He would go on to live a relatively quiet life until his death in 1988 at age 67. As for Hansen, Eatwell claimed he remained on the police suspect list for the rest of his life, but was never charged. He died at age 74 in 1964. Short's murder still remains unsolved. "There were many of these girls like Elizabeth in Hollywood," she said, showing up in buses from all over the country, hoping to become movie stars and falling in with the wrong people.